More of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Blast this go horn, baby. Let's go. Rangers game coming up tonight. Must win. Game number 4. I got to hear this goal horn a few times tonight at Madison Square Garden. Welcome back in. Zach Gelb Show. Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. 609-919-9200 is the telephone number if you want to hop on board with us. It's a must-win game tonight at Madison Square Garden. Rangers down 2-1 after almost, and I say almost, taking a 2-0 lead in Montreal. Game 3, we all know it wasn't an effort that you like to see, and the offense wasn't there. But now someone that is a must-listen-to interview. It's Rangers playoff hockey. So let's talk to the TV play-by-play voice on Madison Square Garden MSG. And that, of course, is Sam Rosen, who's kind enough to hop on board with us right now. Sam, appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for the time. And how are you before this big Game 4?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous, but I'm really excited about the Game 4, and I'm fully hoping and expecting that the team will come out with a real good effort tonight. I think they understand what happened. I think this is a good team. I think this is a team that pulls for each other, and hopefully that'll all show itself in Game 4, and we'll head up for Montreal all even, 2-2.
Well, that would be music to my ears, but let's get back to Game 3 and so far early on in this season and also this series. We know how good this Rangers offense can be, being top 5 in goals scored this past season in the regular season, but they haven't been having that luck in the postseason. What has happened to this Rangers offense, which has scored a lot of goals this year?
Well, I'd like to give a lot of credit to Claude Julien because he is an outstanding coach. He's a defensive-minded coach, as we recall when he was in New Jersey and in his years in Boston. That's the way he coached. Lockdown people, neutral zone trap, slow down the game, slow down the opposition, and I think that's what they've done to the Rangers, especially in the third period of Game 2, the overtime in Game 2, and for the entire game of Game 3. The Rangers have not used their speed, and that's their greatest weapon and has been their greatest strength all season long. And when you get only 12 shots on goal through 2 periods, that's a credit to the defensive play because as good as we know how good Carey Price can be. He's an all-world goaltender, but he didn't have to be in those first 2 periods. So the Rangers have to find their game, a little more puck support, coming up ice, making better passes. What we heard at practice yesterday was execution, very important. Play smart, very important. We'll see if that happens tonight.
In terms of changes, you know, when you go down 2-1, maybe the Alain Vigneault will make a change or two. What changes are you hearing for the lineup coming up tonight?
Well, I think the only one that you could look at would be putting Nick Holden back in the lineup. Nick has struggled a little bit defensively. He did make a great play in Game 2 with a pass to Jimmy Vesey out at the red line from behind his own net, Vesey to Nash, and it turned into a Rangers goal. So Holden has got some strengths. He and Mark Stahl have been a pretty solid pair for most of the time that they've been together during the regular season. So I think if Alain Vigneault is going to make a change, it would be that as far as insertion of a different player. You might see some tweaking of the lines to try and get something going. Mika Zibanejad certainly hasn't played up to expectations, so that's someone that needs to get going. We'll see if the head coach tweaks there. But the guys that are sitting out are decent players, but I don't think they would make a significant change. Would Brandon Peary or Matt Pumple be a big change? Steve Kampfer or Adam Clendenning? I can't see that being big. Pavel Buchnevich might. You could consider putting him in to try and spark some offense there, but again, you're dealing with a rookie who played 41 games all season, missed some time with injury, and defensively could be a liability. So not a whole lot of moves that the head coach can make, but I think those are the ones that he'll consider.
I know you mentioned Mika Zibanejad, and he's going to have a big postseason if the Rangers are going to want to get out of this first round. And you remember the guy that they traded him for, and Derek Brassard was just a playoff hero for the Rangers in these runs. So you look at Mika, and then also Chris Kreider. You expected him to have a big series because of his physical presence if the Rangers were going to be able to solve Price. So just how about those two players? What are you seeing out of them so far, and how do they get them going, especially tonight in Game 4?
I think you nailed it right there with the two players. How do you get them going? I think Mika Zibanejad has got to play the way he's capable. He's got to skate. Again, he's one of those guys who's been slowed down, forced to the outside, not much room in the offensive zone. He's got to keep his legs moving. He's got to keep skating and moving, and whether it's circling the net or going from one side to the other, he's got to find some open space. He's got a big shot on the power play. They try to set him up. He's got to find room, and he's got to release quickly. He's got to get that shot off quickly. Mika Zibanejad is an important player for the Rangers. They acquired him to improve their situation. You pointed out Derek Brassard was always a good playoff player for the Rangers, but they felt that Zibanejad would bring extra speed, extra size. He hasn't asserted himself yet. He has to do that. Chris Kreider, we know he's performed well in the playoffs. And I thought in Game 3, he started the game skating hard. He was noticeable out there. You could see him driving to the net, trying to get involved physically. And then as the game wore on, he seemed to back off. He has to sustain that and be a force. I think he knows it. I think he'll come out again very hard, but the question will be, can he keep it going for the entire game? Because we know his physical presence is important. He needs to get to the front of the net. He needs to bother Carey Price. He needs to find a way to score some goals.
We're talking to Sam Rosen, the TV play-by-play voice for the Rangers on MSG Network. I was talking to your partner, Joe Micheletti, before the playoffs did start, before Game 1 against the Canadiens, and Joe loved the confidence of this team, even when they went through some tough times this year in the ups and downs of an NHL season. So you expect them to be confident tonight on their home ice, although MSG hasn't been kind to the Rangers in the last few playoff games. But early on in this game tonight, you have to get that building going. You know how raucous of an atmosphere the Garden can be. I don't need to tell you that. Just what do you expect to see out of this team tonight, especially early on in the game?
Well, I think they have to play the game in the Montreal zone. They have to, a couple of the players talked about it yesterday at practice, they have to make Montreal defend more. They have to work the Montreal defense. They have to get the puck in the zone and keep working. And I'm not saying necessarily banging. There was a lot of hitting in games 1 and 2 and some in Game 3, but you know, they just have to keep working and win the battles, win the puck battles, find some open ice, but play the game in the Montreal zone. If the Rangers are back in their zone early in the game, that's going to be tough because the pressure will be on. Pressure will be on Henrik Lundqvist. And you know just what you said. If the Rangers are carrying the play, if they score early, that will get the crowd into it and restore the confidence that has waned a little bit. If Montreal scores first and puts the pressure on, that's going to take the crowd out of the game, and that's what they want to do. I had a talk with Claude Julien about it before Game 3, and that's exactly part of their game plan. They want to find a way to take the crowd out of the game, and what they did in Game 2 was play a smart defensive game, shut down Game 3, They shut the Rangers down. Rangers got few shots on goal. Montreal winds up scoring late in the second period on the power play, and the fans were virtually taken out of the game. And that's what Montreal wants to do again as part of their game plan tonight.
Get into number 30. We know he's been the bright and shining point for this Rangers team in this series, as he has been in the last few postseasons in his illustrious Rangers career. We know this hasn't been the best season Henrik Lundqvist has ever had. We all know that. He struggled this year. But just how about the ability of the King to just flip the switch and bring his A-game in the postseason? Not surprising to you, right, Sam?
No, he is one of the best goaltenders and has been for virtually a decade. This man, to watch him work, to watch him play, to watch him put himself out there in front of everyone and put his game on the line, on the ice, put himself on the line in front of reporters and fans before and after games. This is a class athlete, an elite athlete, and no, it doesn't surprise me the way he's playing, but I would say to you, Zach, that even though we say it hasn't been one of his best years, he still won over 30 games. There were times when he was playing as well as any goaltender in the NHL. Did he have some struggles? Yes. Part of it was him. Part of it was the team defense. I think when that was corrected down the stretch, he was a lot better. The team was a lot better defensively, and I think you'll see him at his best again tonight. We've seen him play 3 outstanding games in this series so far, and I think he'll play another one tonight. No reason why he shouldn't. The other night in Game 3, he gave his team a chance. He kept Montreal off the scoreboard until they got a power play chance late in the second period. You can't ask much more than what he's done thus far in this series.
I know teams win Stanley Cups, and it's not individual players, but you look at his individual effort for now over a decade, Sam. I feel bad for the King and Henrik Lundqvist because he's played well enough in this run that he's been on with the Rangers to have a Stanley Cup in his name.
Yeah, I think you see how far he's gone in some of the playoffs, going to the conference final against the Devils, the year that they went to the Stanley Cup final and lost to L.A. Rangers, a tremendous effort. Rangers didn't have scoring in that playoffs. Every game was virtually a 2-1 game, a 3-1 game, 3-2. Not much scoring in that series. He gave his team a chance to go to the conference final. The Stanley Cup final run, again, outstanding performance. I thought he got a couple of bad calls in the final against L.A., but he took the team to the final. So, again, getting close. Final 4 that year when L.A. won over New Jersey, go to the final 2, the Stanley Cup final against L.A., and then the year they lost to Tampa Bay, they lose games 5 and 7, get shut out, and they were 0-0 games against Tampa Bay in the conference final going into the third period in games 5 and 7. So he gave his team a chance. He's been there. He's close. And, yes, you'd love to see him keep on going, get to the final, and somehow find a way to raise the cup. He deserves it.
How many more years do you think he'll play goalie for the Rangers?
I think just in looking at him and the way he works and the way he trains, the way he prepares himself, there's no reason in my mind he can't have 2 or 3 really good seasons, 2 or 3 more high-level seasons. And, again, part of that, I think, will depend on the Rangers making sure they have a strong backup goalie, which they've had in the last couple of years, to support him so that he doesn't get worn down, doesn't play in an abundance of games. They'd like to keep it under 60, and then certainly stay fresh and ready come playoff time. There's no reason in my mind he can't play 2 to 3 high-level seasons for the Rangers.
Wrapping up with Sam Rosen, who joins us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. You mentioned earlier about how tight these Rangers playoff games have been in the last few years, and they've been long series as well, 7 games, and sometimes there's a lot of theatrics where the Rangers would be down 3-1. I don't think they could get down 3-1 in this series and win it. But let's say if the Rangers tonight they're up a goal going into that third period, because we've seen it before, them been in that spot, even going back to game 2 in this series, and they just play that dump and chase brand. I get you have to play a lot of dump and chase in the playoffs at time, but you also have to balance it with that level of aggressive play. How do you think the Rangers, if they're fortunate to have a 1-goal lead entering the third tonight, will approach that third period?
I think they probably will have learned from game 2 that just as you said, you've got to find a balance where when the offensive chances present themselves, you've got to take them. And I think they'll look at it that way. I don't think it's going to be sit back and just keep dumping the puck out, dump the puck out. Don't forget, you had a 1-goal game in game 1, and when they had the chance, they went for it, and they scored the empty net goal with Michael Grabner. You have to continue to play your game, and I think the Rangers are a team that I wouldn't call them a shutdown team, but I think they're smart enough to know what it takes to hold on to that lead. So if they have that lead going into the third period, I think they'll continue to try and put the pressure on Montreal, try to play in the offensive zone as much as possible, try and slow down Montreal in the neutral zone, and then basically control the third period. And then when you get to the madness, if it's still a 1-goal game of the Montreal pulling the goaltender, then when the opportunity presents itself as it did in game 1, go for it, get the goal to put it away. So I think the Rangers are smart enough to have learned from what happened in game 2, and if they have that lead, I think they'll be good enough to protect it if it happens tonight.
We know how good Price is, as this has been a matchup in the goaltending position that has just been unbelievable and as good as advertised with Hank and then also Carey Price. But you look at Montreal, Radulov and then also Gallagher, they've been 2 sensational players for the Canadiens. How do they try to just slow down the Rangers, those 2 players? Because those 2 players have really been a big difference maker for Montreal.
I think basically they've got the change that they want. They've got the final change on home ice. The awareness of Radulov is very important. Radulov and Pacioretty. You can't forget Max Pacioretty because he is one of the premier snipers in the NHL. But Gallagher is one of those players that is bothersome because he's such a pesky pest of a player, and yet he's very productive because he knows it's not just about getting the other team off their game, but it's also about being productive, and he is. So he's one of those guys, you can't get off your game. You have to have the awareness, but you still have to play smart defensively. With him, keep Gallagher away from the net. With Radulov, know that he can make a play. He can either do it with the puck or he can find open space without the puck. But he's an excellent playmaker, and you have to have somebody aware of where he is at all times. So those are key defensive efforts that, again, we'll see what that second defensive pair will be. Will it be Stahl and Holden? Will it be Stahl and Brendan Smith? Whatever that second defensive pair, they'll have an important role of shutting down one of those 2 Montreal lines. The other one, no doubt, will go the top line, that Pacioretty-Radulov line. That'll be the responsibility, for the most part, of Ryan McDonough and Dan Girardi.
Now, Sam, if I'm just being honest with you, I want to hear a lot of it's a power play goal tonight. I love that signature call by you. But it'd be nice for once if the Rangers could make it a little bit easy and have me breathe a little bit easier when watching these games. The stress level's up very high. It'd be nice if they could get one of those performances in a Game 7 a few years ago when they were playing Washington on the road. Can they make it easy for once, please, Sam?
Yeah, score 5 goals and put the game away early. I understand what you're saying. I was online for the men's room before the third period of Game 2, and I was behind Jeff Gordon, the Rangers general manager, and I said, "Well, Jeff, what do you think? How do you feel?" He said, "Boy, I'd sure like it if we could score a power play goal." That was the first thing out of his mouth, and psychologically, it would give the team such a lift. If they can score on the power play, it would be such a confidence booster. I think that's a real important part of the game. Then I can go with a call.
Yeah, and no question. I think it would save a few years off my dad's life, if I'm being honest with you, because he's not happy with the way they're playing offense right now.
Well, I understand. You want to find ways to score, but again, I'll go back to what I said right at the start of the interview, Zach. Claude Julien is an outstanding defensive coach, Stanley Cup winner. He knows what it takes to win, and right now, his team, even though it's a boring style, and it's not a style that we've been known to see from Montreal Canadiens teams, they bought in. They believe that they can win with this style, and they're playing it to the hilt.
Sam, see you tonight up in the press box. We appreciate a few minutes. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Zach. Anytime.
There's Sam Rosen joining us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, 609-9199-D200. We got Game 4 tonight at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. You got to get that place loud tonight. I thought it was loud before the game, and some people have been criticizing the MSG faithful. The Rangers just got to give them something to cheer about. And for crying out loud, can Dolan's friends and all the fans that sit in that Dolan area right behind the bench, can you stop sipping on the champagne in between periods? And can you get to your seat in time? Please, I'm imploring you. Let's get that place loud tonight. And let's see a few goals tonight. That would help as well. Must win tonight at MSG for the Rangers. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. What we'll do right now is we'll take our final timeout of the day. When we come back, we will wrap up shop, get you ready for what's on TV tonight. You got the Rangers, you got Mets, Phillies, you got the Yankees as they look for 9 in a row. So more of the Zach Gelb Show when we come back, and also some NFL GM rankings. Roto World has some rankings online. We will tell you where Howie Roseman places. We will tell you where Jerry Reese places, and also Mike McCagnon. More of the Zach Gelb Show when we come back.